Well, I'm skinny. I don't know if I'm that skinny.
Wait, that sounds like a trap. Want to save a few $100 by cleaning out your own fridge instead of paying a repairman? Today we're going to show you how. So this actually is something that came in from one of the viewers who saw another video in this series, and they asked about this, and I thought, no, I've done it once, probably wouldn't hurt to do it again, so we're going to bring you along while I kind of clean all the dust out of this. In a few minutes we will get into the meat and potatoes, but I'm going to start off with a little bit of boring talking that the wife normally edits out. Now, in the old days, pretty much every refrigerator out there had the cooling fins, the whole thing for cooling, on the back of the fridge. There were no fans. It simply used the heat off of those coils to cause a physics, the hot air rises. So the hot air would rise off of the coils. It would pull cold air up from the front and create a circulation behind the fridge. And that's how it actually cooled itself. As everyone tried to get their fridges bigger and bigger and bigger and deeper and deeper and deeper, almost all the manufacturers, and especially of the bigger ones, are all now moving it to the bottom. Now, naturally down there, there's not a natural flow, so they've had to add fans, and it's gotten more complicated. So now that's where you get into everything being so condensed, and you kind of have to clean it, where the old models you didn't. In the old days with the ones in the back, you hardly had any dust buildup. But now there is more dust buildup than there used to be. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show you exactly how we clean the dust out of this one. And there's sort of a two-step process. There's some that you can do in the front to get the majority of it. And then there's a more in-depth way of kind of getting it more cleaned out. Most of it's going to stop in the front when it hits certain things, but some of it can make it past there, and you may want to get an air blower and kind of blow some of that out. But, hey, you want to watch the internet lose its mind? I got a DeWalt inside of a Milwaukee.
Oh, man.
Somewhere someone is losing their mind right now.
Somewhere someone just unsubscribed. Someone just hit the dislike button.
So the good news is this is fairly easy in the start. There's just 2 screws to remove on the bottom grill. You kind of flex it a little bit, you pop it out from around the hinges, and you've got access to the front, and you can start vacuuming it out. So this first part is pretty much easy and straightforward. Basically, when you open the 2 doors, we've got 2 screws. One right here, one right here. I use a Phillips. I think this is one of those weird ones that will actually work with either a Phillips or a square bit. But we are going to use a Phillips screw. And basically you pop the grill off. Now it is kind of around these things. You kind of have to flex it a little bit and just fight with it a little bit to get it from around these corners. Now the doors do have to be open at a 90-degree angle. Basically there is a little plastic piece right here on the bottom of the door on each one that will catch this and stop it from opening. So it kind of has to be at a 90-degree angle to fit into the track. Okay, so once this is off, you can see some of the dust is up in here. You're going to have some paperwork. These are all the secret manuals of part numbers and stuff like that. But yeah, there's not a lot to this thing. It just kind of clips in and that's it. Okay, now once this is off, you can kind of get an idea of what is up under here. Let's see if we can bring y'all in. This is the condenser coil, and this is where most of the dust collects underneath. Here is your drip tray that is underneath one of the coils, but the majority of your dust is basically going to be right here in this coil. So I'm just going to grab the vacuum and try to suck that out. Unfortunately, from the front, this is really all you can do. Most of the dust, because of the way the flow is, it's going to flow this way. Most of your dust is going to catch on those condenser coils, and vacuuming that out is kind of really all you really have to do. But there's probably still some in here. But to go deeper, I got to pull the fridge out. We also have a storefront that includes a lot of the things that you've seen us replace in these other videos that may be of interest to you, including how to save a buttload on the water filter that this thing says it needs. And if you want to see that, just check the description below and you will see a link to that storefront.
Well, I'm skinny. I don't know if I'm that skinny.
You could just go around.
I'm skinny, y'all. I went through that little hole. Ooh.
Basically, right there in front is going to be your big bulk of your dust. It's just as easy to vacuum it out right there. That way you get the most of it completely out of the equation, and you're not kind of scattering it around your house. The amount you're going to see back here should be low, and if I'm going to do anything to get this out, it's going to involve blowing, and then that would have just blown that all out into the house. This way we immediately just vacuumed it right up, and it's out of the picture. I'm going to go ahead and vacuum up all the stuff that's in the floor that's built up over the last, what is it, like 2 years?
Oh, because you've not taken the back off yet. This is just the floor.
I've never taken the back off since we've owned this.
Thank you so much for whoever left this comment.
You paid a friend of yours to leave that comment, didn't you? So I would clean your fridge.
I played the fifth.
When someone asks about the hinges on the door and leveling, this is the only time I've ever taken that off. And I vacuumed it out once then, but I've never come back here. There are things that I do that fall in the category of this may void your warranty. There's a reason there's a cover here. It's to keep people out of it who are scared of it. I'm leaving this plugged in right now. You should probably unplug this because there's electrical components in here that could shock or kill you. There's spinning fans. There's things that could break. Just don't do nothing stupid, y'all.
Well, just like you are right now? Because you could very well unplug this. Why don't you
when I get in there, I will. But for right now, I'm just taking screws out. What's that general saying? This is for entertainment purposes only. Do not try this at home. So basically, I'm just going to take these screws out.
I do remember you taking the screws out of this fridge before.
Back when I first put it in, because I had to hook up the hoses and stuff.
Yeah.
Just one. In the words of I Do Cars, did I miss a bolt? Where it's kind of around this thing.
And be very careful with this. That is not thick.
Oh yeah, it's just a little piece of flimsy cardboard. So, as I was mentioning, we've got a spinning fan right here. You don't want to put your hand in that. But as I'm looking through here, you'll notice there's not a lot of dust. Most of the dust is going to get stopped up there in the front. One thing back here that can be cleaned out if needed is your evaporation tray. As you see, it's got water. It's exactly what it says it is. As the water evaporates during the cooling process, it basically builds up, and this tray holds the water and it just evaporates out of this tray. So dust can get in here and gum it up and make it funky and make it to where it's not working as well. So you want to clean this out if you need to. Now, this one's not dirty enough to where I'm going to actually worry about it. In fact, I do not see any dust really anywhere else back here. So to be honest, I am not going to blow this out. But if I were going to clean it further, like if it was really dusty in here, I would probably get an air blower out and basically blow it toward the front. Because if you blow it from the front back, you're going to push it into places that it hasn't been. You actually want to blow it the opposite direction that it's going. So you want to blow it back out toward the front. And of course, you never blow air on your fans. Do not spin them with the air per compressor, no matter how fun it is. This is basically what the back side of the unit looks like in case you needed to clean that out as well. I'm going to go ahead and just put this back together. Yeah, I mean, this thing is it's just a thick piece of cardboard. It's almost a joke in a way. Got to make sure these two are in that track right there. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in first so that it holds those in where it's supposed to be. You do not want to put much torque on these at all. These will strip out. Especially when from the factory, some of them are not in straight, like this one was in at an angle. Like that angle. And to give you an idea of the way this thing works, that fan you see right there has compartments, just like in a computer. And it forces the air out right here. You can actually feel the air blowing out right here. So it's sucking it from that front across that evaporator coil and then blowing it out the back here is how this is working. And that's the reason most of your dust is going to collect right there in your front. But what I just showed you with the fan, the way it blows out, that's also one of the reasons why the manufacturers will always say you need so much clearance behind there. It's because that air needs enough room to kind of come out the back, float up into the thing, sort of draw that cool air into the front. So that's why you always want to make sure you've got enough space behind your fridge. Now the only thing left to do is to put the grill cover back on, and we're done. It should go on a little bit easier than it came off.
And we realize this isn't the easiest thing to see.
Yeah, it's your typical piece of plastic that it basically, it doesn't just come off. You have to kind of pull it from around everything, manipulate it and play with it and jiggle with it. And the only way to do it is kind of get in there with your hands. You get your doors at the exact right spot. So it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. I mean, it's certainly not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not easy either. And with that, the only thing left is to put the screws back in. Now, oddly enough, when I got that question, I'm like, doesn't it show you in the manual? So I went and looked at the manual. It doesn't show it in the manual, which was kind of weird. Now, there may be a sub-addendum that goes into that, but oddly enough, the actual owner's manual for this fridge does not include a section about how to pull that out and clean those out. At least not that I saw off the top of my head when I was looking. In fact, the only thing the manual covers is how to change your water filter and your air filters and things like that. In fact, if you don't know how to do that and you would like to see us do that as well, check out this video over here.
Okay, now how can we make it more interesting? Because that was boring as hell. Have you ever had dust?
It's cleaning the dust from a filter. It doesn't get exciting.